Hello, Kung Fu Fossil here. Second part of one of these interviews with my friend Paul. He is going to talk, he's going to ask me a whole bunch of more questions and I'm going to answer them for you. So let's get into it.
Right, yeah. So moving on from last week, we spoke a lot about the overall idea about strength and conditioning and what things you can target. So some more questions this week. We've come up with on different more specific stuff. So my first question was going to be, what sort of results would you expect and how long would it take with a specific program?
It depends on if it's pre-season, during season, rehabilitation, pre-rehabilitation, active recovery. You're going to see something from any of these programs, but it's a matter of was we targeting fitness, nervous system, muscular system strength, or the body itself. So you should see gains reasonably quick in whichever area has been decided on needed work.
Yep.
It's not just like, again, either 4 sets of 8 or 3 sets of 10 or whatever. It would be probably fairly compound in the way of it's not normally a split in your body, it's normally you're training the whole body, but you would be targeting weaker components. Like if someone was doing a push-up program, this is a big push-up challenge going to be on. If their biceps were weak, you might have to add some bicep exercises of some description, and even then, was it long head, short head, or is it an overall weakness?
So for example, if just say I wanted to do the Run for the Kids next year, which I think's 12 months away. And I came to you and said, okay, I've never run before in my life. I'm 30 kilos overweight. I really want to do this Run for the Kids because I want to raise money for the kids. How long would it take me to get to the point where I would be, getting somewhere near what I'd need to be at to be able to do that event?
Yep. You would aim to have basically everything working together. Obviously, if you're doing some cardio, but not ridiculous, crazy, biggest loser type cardio, you're doing some reasonable stuff. You just maybe do some portion control on your food, and you just add a couple of walks a day. You should start to see a reasonable difference in a month. You should see a significant difference in 3 months. If you were starting to get sore, then we would get you walking in water,
Yep.
Which is for more when people are sort of 50, 60 kilos or whatever over, and you would use that to alter their body weight for what you needed to be done. There are treadmills that people get hung over in, like big rubber sort of nappy looking things, and that puts 20 or 30 or whatever %, but that's quite expensive. You end up paying a couple $100 a week for that type of stuff, whereas just going to the local gym pool and that's pretty inexpensive, and you're just going to walk backwards and forwards. We would expect, I would like you to be where you would want to be for something like that, and probably the 9-month mark.
Yep.
So then you've got 3 months grace, just to allow for personal things that could happen, other injuries, work injuries, just going off the rails, something else happens. So, and we would try to sort of give that a couple of like a little step type of peak, because say hypothetically, how long is Run for the Kids?
I think there's like a 10K, there's a 5K, 10K. And
Okay, so say if we were picking on a 10K, then in 3 months we would like to do about 3K. At the end of 3 months, let's do a 3K and let's see what we're going like.
Yep.
Did you die? Did you not do well? Did you do okay? Awesome. So then we would look at 6 months.
So how often would somebody have to train for that? Starting off, how much time would they have to commit to that? Would it, is it every day? How long during the day would they have to train for that?
Probably if someone's got a very low training age or they've been sedentary for a while, you wouldn't train every day.
Yep.
You would probably go every other day and just go by how sore you are. If you're getting some soreness, that's okay, but ridiculous soreness and you can't sleep and you feel like you're cramping up in your whole body overnight when you're in bed is obviously a silly thing. So you would be doing that sort of thing, and we would then add in bits of strength, but if you're doing a lot of walking, then your strength work will probably have some compound push-ups, planks, or very modified versions of planks depending on weight and things like that. Yeah, just so that way, because you want to be able to enjoy the experience.
Yeah. So can that be catered for, like, can you cater that for different levels of ability? Like, you know, if somebody's, I guess, older, or, you know, in a wheelchair, or, you know, has an existing injury, would you have to treat that existing injury first, or could you treat the injury as part of the strength and conditioning?
A lot of the time I try to really mix the two together, just because it puts people in a better headspace, but it just has to be within reason. Say if someone's had an ankle broken or something, then you can get them doing box. If they're a boxer, you could have them sitting on a Swiss ball. Same thing if they'd had a knee rebuild, they could be sitting on a chair or a Swiss ball doing some pad work. If it was someone who is heavy and we know that they can't get to the pool all the time and they can't get all these other things, you know, you can buy cheap hand grinder type of bike things, Aldi's or whatever have those sorts of things. So you would do some work with the legs, and if they can't get to the pool, you'd get them using one of those at a night, or sitting on a bike while they watch TV, or if they're doing paperwork, if they're in their own office, they could sit on a statutory bike while they're...
So as their coach, would you need to, how often would they need to visit you? Would you say, you know, they need to come in, initially would they need to see you weekly? Would you say, listen, go away and you know, come and see me monthly? How often? Or can they do it themselves?
It depends if you know the person or not, and you've done a bit of profiling to see what they're like. So you would probably see them the first week just for a couple, maybe 3 or so, because you've got to work out, did I convey my message correctly to them? Did they get what I was on about? You know, are they a visual, are they audio, are they a kinesthetic learner? So I wrote this awesome program, but I've written it in the wrong learning style for them, so therefore it's a waste of everyone's time, money, and we'll get frustrated. So if you see them in a week and nothing's happened, because they weren't motivated or the programming wasn't really to their liking and stuff like that. So, you know, it is a give and take thing. It's not just I sort of dump and print this off for you.
Yep. So in your experience, do you think it works better in as an individual or in group form?
Look, it depends. You have people who compete in individual sports. You have people who compete in team sports. Sometimes it's good to work with an entire team, and sometimes you work with individuals from a team, but you might have had information given to you by the overall coach there of what their weaknesses were.
Yep.
So you're building that person to integrate into there.
But even like, you know, Joe Blogs off the street, would they be better to come in, just say, you know, me and a few mates decided we wanted to do this run for the kids, do you think your success is greater if you come in as a group, or have you found it just really doesn't really matter?
When it's something like that and you are all going for a greater good, then it's probably better to come as a group.
Yep.
Because when you've got, say, 5 people, there's always going to be one who's flying, one who's really depressed, and the others will be in between. So, and that is a dynamic which will change. So that way people can motivate one another. You know, they're all in the same boat, they all feel the same pain, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
So you make them work quite well that way.
So if they're going to do, you know, if they're going to start this program, do you think is it wise to maybe go see your GP before you start doing it, or just get into it?
Look, it really depends again. Like if we're talking about a few people who've got a few extra kicks on them and things like that, and you say, when was your last checkup? If they say 6 years ago or something, well, obviously it would be pretty advisable to go to the docs.
Yep.
Also, you know, if they all haven't or have been to a docs in recent times, you know, when you're doing all your interviews, you know, what's your BP like, heart rate like, lifestyle, depending on their age bracket, you're getting into like a pre-diabetes type of state with some people. or peri, and there's a whole lot of other things that could be going on. So, you know, but then the same can be said with athletes. If you've had somebody who's really worked quite hard for the last, I don't know, say 3 years, they can have their body melting down a bit inside, so they can have some organ damage. It just moves on.
So, with all the benefits that you see with people getting fitter and strength and conditioning, why do you think? I mean, you don't hear doctors really recommending you go and see a strength and conditioning coach. Why do you think? Why don't doctors recommend it more?
That's more to do with probably just a social makeup and what we were starting to talk about a bit more last time in educational standards. Sports docs refer on to strength and conditioning all the time, sometimes to work hand in hand with physiotherapy, sometimes as a standalone therapy, because they needed a more aggressive exercise regime. You do get into a lot of different elements with that, but a lot of doctors have worked out if you're doing well, it's less work for them, which some of them probably don't want, but you're sort of releasing a lot better hormone structure. If you're training and you're training to when you feel really good, you will release endorphin. And everybody experiences that, and that's the basic thing of I've trained, I feel amazing, I'll do another set, now I feel like crap. So then you've gone beyond the endorphins and over into cortisol, where your body will release sort of an acidy, either uric and lactic acid and other things, and then you just get that DOMS and you don't feel very nice anymore.
So do you yourself work in conjunction with other medicos?
In the past you're working, like if you're doing a team, you're working with team docs and whatever. If you've got people even with like learning disabilities, or you've got people that have got all these other issues, you would have to normally talk to some form of doctor. It's the same, like whether they're a young athlete and they've been thrashed, whether they're an ordinary athlete and they've been thrashed, or they're a masters athlete and worn out, they all need that medico sort of input.
So is there anybody that shouldn't be doing strength and conditioning in your opinion?
I think everybody can do it to an extent. It's just a matter of the word operative there being extent. Some people can handle a lot more than others, and other people, training isn't meant to be self-torture. Some people just literally punish themselves, and that's not really healthy. Strength and conditioning, you should be aiming for dates when you want to compete or have these artificial competition dates, and then you would have recovery part of the program, and then you start to rebuild. If you're just continually trying to work away, you can't. You'll break in the end, kind of thing, because you're not getting any of that recuperative component.
Can you see any negatives with strength and conditioning? I guess when I say negatives, is there people out there that shouldn't be advising people with their strength and conditioning?
You want someone who's sort of, I suppose what you're trying to say there, who works with those people in that area. If I'm an extra high performance coach, MS is probably not going to really be my thing. The same with if I'm used to training marathon runners and that, then I'm not going to have a super heavyweight powerlifter kind of thing. They have to sort of fit within that realm, and that's when you go by how many years your S&C's been about and experience of what you've done.
So obviously the more years you've done it, the more hope you've got of having an overall view and an idea of all different types of...
like I've always spent, say, 5, 8 or 10 years working roughly with a particular type of sport, and then I move into something different, but then I'll have something else which could be a bit similar in there as well. And so that way nobody knows everything. There's always more to learn. It's like in that soft tissue work, there's always more to do. And I'm always very insistent on that.
Good stuff. Well, John, another good interview again. I guess we'll wrap it up again next week. Thanks very much.
Okay.
And I'll leave you to sign off.
All right, thank you, Paul. Okay, this is Cool Food Fossil signing off for another week. Hope some people get some stuff out of this. You know, the usual stuff. Subscribe if you like it, ring the bell if you like it, yeah? Or leave me a comment if there's something that you'd like me to look at. Okay, bye for now.